with you this morning. Let us know what your thoughts are. Be a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. And you can also tweet at smooth981. We're talking about Google and their market dominance, or is Google too dominant? Yeah, that's the question. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers out there. Yeah, poor Google. I don't know if we should say poor Google because their advertising revenue in 2021, I think it was $220 billion. So I don't know if they are poor, but poor Google.
They certainly aren't.
Yeah, they're not. I think second place was Facebook, and Facebook's ad revenue in 2021 was 120 or 115 billion. But basically, Google is gotten another hit from the U.S. Department of Justice, and I think about 8 states, California, Virginia, some other states, that say it has a monopoly in the advertising marketplace, and they want it to be broken up. So the question is, is Google a victim of its own success? I would say yes, it is. And this is the first time I think the Biden administration is taking aim at a big tech firm. They said they manipulated their ad marketplace. They punished, they swallowed up competition, bought companies, took over them. They forced people. So if you want to advertise or I want to advertise, they basically forced us to advertise on their platform and so on and so forth. And they're asking for them to be broken up. Wow, you want to break up Google, or at least spin off their advertising arm, which I think was 10% of their revenues last year or the year before. So, yeah, it looks like Google is a victim of its own success.
Wow. Also. So the US is pushing for the company to be broken up and for the court to order the company to spin off at least the online advertising exchange, just like you said. Will this change the marketplace though?
Yeah, it will. It will change the marketplace, because if you force the company to break up and spin off that advertising arm so that it becomes its own standalone entity, then in effect you are, breaking up the monopoly, as it were. So that theoretically allows for more competition to come into the space. If they sell that off or to someone else, or they break it up into pieces, then you are deliberately trying to reduce their market share in that regard. Will it happen? Google is going to fight it. They're going to fight it. They have the money to get the best lawyers. They will drag the case out for years. I don't expect to see any although we're in January though, so it hasn't gone to trial yet. This is just the lawsuits. So they put the lawsuit forward, they will respond to the lawsuit, a date for trial will begin, and then you go through all that, unless it's not struck down before it goes to trial. So, it's going to take a while before we get this resolved. But by the way, they are facing this in the UK and I think the EU as well. So they're getting these punches from two different continents, so it's pretty heavy.
Now, I'm curious about this, though. There's so many other options when it comes to searches, but what is it about Google? Why do people always use Google?
I should ask you, right? I mean, it's just a natural. There's Bing. Microsoft has Bing. You see, I have trouble thinking of other. It's Ask Jeeves. I don't know if Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, I remember Ask Jeeves, but I don't think it's still existing.
Yeah, we just don't see it. Right. So that's it. It's either you search with Google or you search with Bing. And I think it's just Google is so dominant. It has collected so much data over the years. If I type in President Zibby on Google, I will probably get more responses as to what your activity has been like, your Twitter page, and so on and so forth, than I would if I was on Bing. And then there's the fact that Google is on Chrome, and
browser.
I use Chrome as opposed to using Microsoft's Explorer or whatever. Exactly. So we've just become so used to it, and but I think that is what they're saying is unfair. The fact that they've become so big and pushed out other competitors, but there's still choice. If you and I decide we want to use Bing for search or we want to use Internet Explorer, then we have that conscious choice to do it. But Google has just It's everywhere. I mean, they've bought YouTube, so your music, your search, your everything is just, but look, I mean, you and I could have started Google 20 years ago. This is an idea from two guys, Sergey Lavrov and his other partner, and it became a thing. So are they being punished for being innovative or, being too big, but anyway, that, hey, that's just the way it is. It's everywhere and everybody uses it. So,
Wow. But that should be a testament to how efficient their systems are, right?
Right. They've you see, and this is why we talk about why companies in Nigeria, they don't have too much longevity. And this is why companies reinvest in themselves. This is why Google is one of the best places to work. They pay very well. So they attract top talent.
Google.
So they pay well, they've got the best talents. It has allowed the company to grow and grow and grow. That is how you must reinvest in yourself as a business. So it's easy to hit number one, but it's harder to stay at number one and be the top person and continue to grow. This thing is not easy. It's not beans. I mean, it's really hard work. It costs a lot of money, so I mean, there you go. That's how they've managed to keep themselves at the top.
Got a message from Yinka, and he says, I understand and that Google is intrusive, nosy, and always in my business, but that they swallowed up competitors. I don't get it because it's not like they swallowed them up for free.
Right. That's very true. They paid money for them and the competitors allowed themselves to be bought. If you offer good money, then you will be bought. So who's gonna turn down millions of dollars? You won't. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Chat GPT. Do you think it's a threat to Google? Do you see it as a possible threat to Google in the future?
Well, I mean, it could be. The thing about Chat GPT is that its search results are more conversational. So, you can ask Chat GPT. I tested it. I was like, who makes better jollof rice, Ghana or Nigeria? And it chose a neutral answer. It said, well, that all depends on the taste of the person. So that conversational aspect, as opposed to just typing in jollof rice, Googling, jollof, as opposed to Googling who has better jollof rice in Google will just give you results from whether you and I had a debate last week on YouTube. It'll pull that as an answer. So I'm not sure. It's going to take a while for Chat GPT, but it's here. It's the talk of the town, but it's going to be a while before it threatens Google's dominance in terms of search.
All right. Clement Ezilme says Microsoft is rumored to have acquired Chat GPT. Is this correct?
Yes, they're investing $10 billion in OpenAI in order to infuse Chat GPT into their system. So this one we've been talking about Bing. Microsoft is making, and I think Microsoft has been investing in them since 2019 or so. So this is the biggest investment yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see so that tells you that Microsoft wants to try and catch up with Google, but how it plays out is what makes it very fascinating to see. $10 billion is a lot of money.
Message from Matthew. He says, people will use Google more because most search engine algorithms rely on past user data to power the current version of algorithms. Google, having 5 to 6 times the market share of Bing, has 5 to 6 times the data to analyze and use for its algorithms. All things being equal, bigger and better data would win over better algorithms. It means that even if Bing uses the exact same algorithms, this is the most I've ever said that word in a few seconds, they will still be worse off because of less data.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good point. Thank you for that message. Thanks for all your messages. So again, this is why you have this lawsuit against Google saying that, as far as online advertising is concerned, they're too big. They've used unfair practices to gather too much data and they should be broken up. So, we have to see how all that plays out.
All right, so Google says that the Justice Department's case is flawed and will slow innovation. It will raise advertising fees and make it harder for thousands of small businesses and publishers to grow. Is this a valid argument?
I don't know about that. You're the one dominating everything. So why would you say that them breaking you up would lead to higher fees? Because the idea is that if they break you up, there's more competition, which actually should lower fees if there's more people in that space, as opposed to only you being the dominant player in that market and being able to charge fees and there's little competition. So I don't really buy that from Google. That's just, but then, hey, I'm not a judge, so we'll see what the courts decide in the coming months or years.
Well, let us know what your thoughts are. 0809 440 981. Yinka says, Bing looks boring and too serious. It's not a very attractive face, though,
yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
not. Even the word Bing, I don't know. I don't even like it, to be
Like
honest.
Chandler Bing.
I use it once in a while, very rarely, but yeah. So there you are. There you have it. Google just sounds cooler.
Okay, so when is this expected to possibly get to courts?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I mean, again, the lawsuit just dropped yesterday. Google will put its lawyers together. They will respond. And that's this. It might take a while. It could be later this year. That's up to the court system to decide how soon, unless it's struck down before it gets to court. So, or Google decides they don't want to fight it and they pay a fee. But then the US Justice Department wants them to break up their advertising arm. I don't think they want to do that. So this could go on for a while. Who knows? Could be a while.
Wow. Interesting times times for tech.
Yep. Very, very so.
Okay, well, let's see. I've got another message coming through, and it says, Rotus, can you Bing the scores of yesterday's match or Google the scores for me? Which sounds cooler?
Great points. Very good point there.
Oh wow! You know,
yeah, that basically means that I know we're out of time, but that basically means that Google is part of our lexicon. It's actually, when you say it's a verb, Google it, right?
That is true.
Yeah, so there, that's it's part of our culture now. So that just tells you how well this company has performed. That's just crazy. It's crazy.
So, what lessons can organizations learn from Google's success and possible trials coming?
Well, don't get too big. If you get too big, the US, at least, again, we don't have these things in Nigeria. Nigeria are never going to attack a Google. South Africa won't do it. It's usually these big Western developed markets that would do it. So it depends on where you are. Try not to get too big. If you are the US, the EU, UK, they'll come after you.
All right, that's all the time that we have on Business Express this morning. Thank you so much, Rotus.
Thanks, Zibby. Thanks to all the listeners, and thank you for all your messages. See you guys on Monday.
All right. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.